Have you ever stopped to think about why the Great Wall isn't just one single wall, but rather the petrified corpse of an empire? And no, I'm not talking about tourism. Today, we're going to do something no traveler can do. Travel 400 years back in time to the exact moment this stone serpent reached its peak splendor. We are going to rebuild it with the eyes of a historian and the power of artificial intelligence. Prepare your senses, because what you are about to see is not the wall you know, but the untamable beast it once was. To understand its peak splendor, we first have to erase that postcard image from our minds. That perfect stone wall you see in photos is, in reality, an imposter. It's the wall of the Ming dynasty from the 16th century. But what if I told you that the true moment of glory, the instant the wall was more than just stone and mortar, happened almost 2,000 years earlier? To find the answer, we have to stop thinking of a wall and start thinking of a heartbeat. Imagine for a moment that you are a general in the 3rd century BC. The Qin dynasty has just unified China. Your enemy is not just another rival kingdom. It is the void. It is the echo of the hooves of nomadic horses on the other side of the steppe. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, didn't build a wall. He built an immune system. He connected old fortresses and raised new ones, not with the elegant stone we would see later, but with rammed earth. It was crude, yes, but it was the skeleton of a giant just beginning to awaken. But splendor didn't arrive with the first emperor. It arrived centuries later, with the Han dynasty. Here comes the first twist. The wall's peak moment wasn't just defensive, it was offensive. Emperor Wu of Han wasn't content to just wait for the barbarians. He extended the wall like an iron arm through the Hexi corridor, pushing deep into the desert. Why? To protect the Silk Road. The wall then became an arterial road for commerce. It wasn't just a barrier preventing passage. It was a customs post controlling the flow of silk, spices, and ideas. At its peak splendor, the wall breathed. Each watchtower was a nerve node. When the smoke of signals rose, it didn't just announce danger. It announced the empire was alive, its defenses reacting with the speed of a heartbeat. Imagine the scene. Every 500 meters, a tower. Spotting enemy smoke, a torch was lit. In a matter of hours, a message could travel thousands of kilometers. It was the internet of its age, but this system, this beast of earth and sweat, had an Achilles heel, and that Achilles heel was called logistics. To maintain the garrisons, to feed those soldiers at the end of the world, required a titanic effort, and this is where history becomes human and tragic. How do you think a soldier stationed in one of those towers felt, staring into infinity, knowing that on the other side of the wall was a world he would never know? Loneliness was another enemy. That soldier, wrapped in furs against the biting winter cold, listened to the howling wind. It wasn't just wind. To him, they were the ghosts of the builders who died, buried in the foundations. And there's a legend, a dark echo that runs through the wall's foundations. The legend of Meng Zhongnu. Legend has it that her husband was forcibly taken to build the wall. Receiving no news from him, she undertook a long journey to find him. When she arrived, they told her he had died and his bones lay buried beneath the bricks. Her wailing was so heartbreaking, so profound, that a section of the wall collapsed, revealing the remains of her beloved. The legend reminds us of something crucial. The wall in its peak splendor wasn't just an engineering feat. It was a life-grinding machine. The human cost was incalculable. And that is the ghost that AI cannot recreate. Because when we use artificial intelligence to visualize that splendor, we see the perfect architecture, the banners fluttering in the wind, the shining armor. But AI cannot draw the hunger. It cannot paint the paralyzing fear of a night attack. Nor can it model the desperation of a relief force that never arrives. True splendor isn't in the stone. It is in the iron will of the millions of anonymous hands that built and defended it. Now, let's jump in time. We arrive at the Ming dynasty. They are the ones responsible for the brick and stone wall that endures today. For them, the wall was no longer just a defense against the Mongols. It was a declaration of identity. After expelling the Mongols, the Ming needed to reassert their power. And what better way than to build the largest wall ever conceived? They added over 8,000 kilometers of fortifications. It was excessive. It was fair. But here is a brutal irony that history gives us. The wall, at its peak of construction under the Ming, was also the silent witness to their greatest failure. In 1644, a rebel army led by Li Zicheng easily breached the Zhuyongguan Pass and took Beijing. The wall couldn't stop them because the Ming generals themselves opened the gates. Fed up with corruption, the stone beast was betrayed from within. The enemy was no longer outside. It had long since crossed the wall. And then, the final twist occurs. The Manchus, who would found the last dynasty, the Qing, came to power. And guess what they did with the Great Wall? Nothing. They ignored it because their empire stretched further north. The wall was no longer a frontier, but an internal scar. The ultimate symbol of Chinese defense became irrelevant. It went from being the empire's heartbeat to being a silent echo. The splendor faded, not with a bang, but with a whisper of abandonment. Today, when AI gives us back that image of power, it shows us a mirage. The reconstruction is technically accurate, but historically incomplete. The true splendor of the Great Wall doesn't reside in how it looked, but in what it represented. The edge of the known world, the boundary between order and chaos. And that boundary, my friends, is not a line on a map. It's aligned in the human mind. The need to protect ourselves from the other is an instinct as old as humanity itself. So the next time you see an imposing image of the wall, whether a photo or an AI reconstruction, don't just look at the stone, look at the void. Listen to the silence between the battlements. Ask yourself how many stories of love, betrayal, hunger and courage were sealed forever between its bricks. Because the wall in its peak splendor is not a place you travel to, it is a time you return to with your imagination. And now that you know its ghosts, tell me, would you dare to walk it alone at dusk? Because history, in the end, always finds a way to tap the shoulder of those who dare to remember.